Hey guys, welcome to House of Haha. Aaron here, Melody behind the camera,
Hi.
Grimbo taking a nap
Rumba.
back on our bed. We're here in the back of Chewy, and it's been a while since we've done an update video, at least for us anyway. We've done quite a bit of traveling. We've covered, I want to say the word thousands of miles we've driven, seen a lot of things, we've met a lot of people. We have a lot of stories. We have a lot of things been going on, and with everything going and the traveling, it's been difficult to make a video. So we're taking this moment to update you on what we've been doing and what we've seen. So I'm gonna leave Grimlock here to hold the bed down. You're doing good, Grimlock. I appreciate you. No, you stay. And we're going to utilize our handy Chewy map here to give you an idea, at least in this general scale of how far we've driven and where we've been. So, start off right here in the California. We were in the Sierras. We were in Kings Canyon, and we went
When last we spoke.
we were in Kings Canyon. Our friend Jonathan had literally ridden up on a bike. He was injured, was revving behind us. And so we spent a week with him. He got to hang out camping with us and experience what it was like, how we live, the traveling, the unexpected weather. I'll say this, at least one of the most, I think, special things that happened during our time there, not at Kings Canyon, but we camped down at Sequoia National Park with the giant redwood trees, the ones that are like 40 feet around.
On top of Mineral King.
On top of Mineral King. Mineral King was the campground we stayed at. It was the highest campground up there. It was also the most affordable campground in the national park. If you're looking for a place to stay, highly recommend it.
I think it's Cold Springs Campground.
Okay, Mineral King was
It's like the mountain up there.
mountain, and the ranger station is there.
Yeah.
And Cold Springs is the name of the campground. Thank you, Melody. This is why she is here, because I will ramble off bits of facts, and she helps piece them back together so I don't confuse you. So we stayed there with Jonathan, and the most special moment that I have that I'll share with you during this update was that we got to experience with him his first snowfall. He's been to snow, but he's never actually stood in a spot where snow was not and snow suddenly fell. It was a pretty privilege, and I'm going to use the word magical, at least for me. You know, you don't get to witness first like that for people very often, like unless you have kids and stuff. So that was, I guess, we got to have that with Jonathan. So that was a special moment we had in Sequoia traveling through there. So after we departed Jonathan, and he had to go back to, work and his life, we drove down to the rest of the Sierras here, and then we crossed them right about here. Am I pretty close, Melody?
Sure.
I think so. And there we drove through Death Valley. And so in that one day, by doing that, going across the Sierras and then driving through Death Valley, we crossed the mountain range of Mount Whitney there. They had the highest peak in California, and the Death Valley, which had some place called Bloody Bad Water. So it's all horrible name things that are going in a desert. Anyway, it's the lowest elevation point, not only in California, but in the lower 48 for both highest and lowest points. And one day we got to travel through, so that was kind of cool. Interesting fact, because we drove through there because Chewy had, I'm using the term past tense now, had air conditioning. It's one of the ways that you may driving through Death Valley, like we can do this. However, when you're going through there, particularly up hills and things like that, they actually tell you to turn your air conditioning off, which just feels messed up when it's literally was 121 degrees that day. Whatever, there was a new record high for that was 121 degrees in Death Valley, and they're like, turn the AC off. So we did, because we figured we don't want to, blow the seal or anything bad on our AC.
A lot of people did have their hoods up.
Hoods were up.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of filling spots
Like,
as you drove up going water, not human consumption, radiator. So we did the drive through Death Valley, visitor center, got our stamp, all the things we do like that. And from there we drove just into Nevada, and basically we're about 80 miles west of Las Vegas is where we're hanging out at this point. We had a choice. We're thinking about, should we get a hotel in Vegas or find a camping? But it was much later in the day, and we're like, we're gonna go to a hotel in Vegas and pay for that. Might as well have it early in the day, so we have as much time as possible to be in the hotel, shower, update videos, artwork, things like that. So we got into a a place there, and the name escapes me which campsite it was, but it was
I don't know.
that's okay. It was just outside of Las Vegas. It had this beautiful view of the desert going behind it. So we stayed there for a night. It was $19. Bathrooms were kind of ridiculous with that one because they had bathroom spots where a bathroom once existed, but porta potties got shoved into. So I'm not going to say it's really worth $19, but it was a place to stay for the night. So from there, we drove down, heading to Lake Mead. We were looking for a spot to stay around there. Picturesque, beautiful place. If you've ever been to Lake Mead before, it's pretty much everything you imagine it to be. Beautiful water, lots of boats. Camping, we just couldn't really find much.
Well,
You
it
know,
was too
for that.
hot to
And it was
camp.
too
We're
hot.
not going to camp
It was over
there.
100
That's
degrees
like
that
100.
day, and like shade was fairly non-existent. So we're like, oh, we'll just keep going. So after Lake Mead, the next thing is Hoover Dam.
Dam.
So we were driving across Hoover Dam. Now, when you go across
I just
there-
wanted this stamp, man.
that's really all we wanted. I wanted a Hoover Dam stamp for our passport, book for all the places we've been. But like, you got to pay for parking. It's a very involved process, and we have a dog. It just wasn't an idea. So we're like, let's just get across the dam and get going. When you go across there, security points, and apparently Chewy here qualified for what's known as secondary inspection, which means you get pulled out of the main car like drive-through spot, and then they pull you aside, and then some retired folk come over. It's almost like the people at like the Walmart greeter. It's like if a Walmart greeter came at you, but he was working for the federal government and the Hoover Dam security,
And he was covered in zinc
and he was
face.
covered. And just his whole, all their faces were covered in zinc.
It was hot out there, and then you're just standing in a parking lot
Extremely.
with no shade whatsoever.
I felt bad for them. I was very polite. So what they did was,
Well, good call.
you're not going to be rude to someone they're inspecting your car. You just don't. It's like if the police, you don't argue with the guy. So basically their search consisted of a stick and a mirror that they wanted our tent box opened up, and I kept like having them
No,
strap
you're
it.
gonna give away our national secret.
All right, and then they wanted to look in our bag up front. That was the extent of our search, and then at the point we got moved on. Driving onto Hoover Dam, which we've been through before. It's not our first time crossing it, and didn't stop. Too hot. Get the stamp. So we're going to go across. And normally when you go across Hoover Dam, it takes you right into Arizona.
The last time that you went
The
across
last
it,
time I did, it took me right. This was a very direct path. It didn't happen this way this time.
or we got diverted somehow. Something happened.
The road was closed that took you around, and all of a sudden you're spinning back around, and I'm like, what's going on? We're having to go across the dam. We're heading back towards the inspection place again. I'm thinking we're going to have to go through secondary inspection again.
Too hot. Grimbo can't
Oh, it was
take it.
terrible.
like-
So
He's like looking at our dog. I'm like, that's my little dog. He's just not that friendly.
it's not. It's other people. It doesn't know. So we have to go back the dam again, and
Damn.
not stopping for our stamp, and deciding not to stop in the park.
It would have cost us $10 and some time in the sun.
We were indignant. I'm like, screw you, Hoover Dam. You are not getting my money. Even if I wanted your stamp, I don't want it now. So anyway, we got finally across there. There was a road we took to take another spot to go across back into Arizona, taking us not very far from the Grand Canyon. Again, it's hot. It was just too warm at that point to be messing with it. So we decided to skip the Grand Canyon, and at that point head down and get some kicks on Route 66, or at least what is available of Route 66, because it basically parallels the 40, which is right about here on the map.
We saw part of the original part before getting on the 40.
That's true. There
It
was
was
a part of
desolate. You couldn't see anything but like broken down. It had like those Burma shave signs and whatnot.
Yes. I'd never seen those before. I'd never driven enough of the 66 before to experience those. These little signs on the side of the road, apparently for this advertising company, and they were like, if you don't know what this is, you've never driven that far. Or so, I can't even recite them, but if you look them up, you'll probably know what I'm talking about. So we drove along there, and then hopped on the 40 because it's a lot faster to get the heck through there. And then right about over here near Holbrook in Arizona, we stopped because we knew a place that night we could camp at. The 40 basically takes you right to a spot near the Petrified Forest and the Painted Desert. We visited there before, have a camp spot we know about. We stopped for the night, met a family from France. Now, we've met a lot of people from different countries we traveling, and that's not unusual. France does seem to be the most popular one we come across. I don't know why. This family was unique because there was a husband and wife and then 3 children, and they were taking the full year to travel the Americas, plural. Not just North America, but they'd already traveled across South America, all the way to SARS at Argentina, making their way up through Central America. They had their car like shipped over, from France, as they've been traveling across, and now they're making their way across to North America with 3 kids in a camper van. I thought this was cramped compared to what these guys are doing. It was very cool to meet them, very impressive. Gave them some have magnets we can keep in touch. So after that, we went a little tour through the park, got our stamps again for the Petrified Forest and the Painted Desert, and then we made our way into our 39th state, New Mexico. We earned our next sticker here. And when we got to New Mexico, we drove in. There was a spot we camped, right, Melody?
No, there was another lava bed that we saw.
Thank you. There was the
Malpais
lava bed national monument was there. So we've come across in this whole areas through our country, there's a lot of these ancient lava beds that are just in the middle of the deserts out there we've come across. So it's been kind of a fun thing for us to tick off another one we've been to. This one was really cool because their main symbol is a bat. Because apparently there's a bat cave nearby, so I thought it was very Gotham cool. Anyway, so we drove through there, made our way down, made a right at Albuquerque, and then made our way over to White Sands. First, White Sands Missile Range. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, White Sands Missile Range. Because there's a monument down there. There's a stamp we can get for our book. And we started driving down there, and as you go down there, there's a road, and it has the signage, and it's very, very clear in its repeating theme of there may be unexploded ordnance anywhere out here on the side of the road. Do not stop your car. Do not get out of your vehicle. This would not be a good place if your dog's got to pee. You should pull over and allow them to do it because you may blow up a mine or a missile or something like that. It also occurred to us going to the missile range that there's probably another inspection point. Now, at this point, and then all told later on, we went through 3 border patrol checkpoints going through New Mexico and eventually Texas. And then this was coming up. We're not a fan of these checkpoints. So we're just going to turn back around, avoid the potential exploding road. And we're going to go back to the White Sands National Monument, which I didn't really know that much about. But the most interesting thing about it is a massive white sand dunes. But the sand there is not made of silica the way normal sand is. It's made of gypsum. Now, gypsum is found other places around the world for sand, but this is the largest sand dunes, or the largest gypsum sands in the world.
Are you saying gypsum?
Gypsum.
Okay.
I probably wasn't, but I'm saying gypsum now. Anyway, that was the interesting point about there. We drove through it, lots of washboard roads, not fun to drive in the car. We also went there because Melody, as a kid, saw a space camp, and she remembered that was the secondary landing spot where they could bring in the shuttle if they had to bring them down, and so that stuck her brain, and she always wanted to go to White Sands over there. So it was kind of a fun moment. We got to go to a movie-related national park or monument. Normally those are the things we dig out for me, but this was a Melody moment. All right, so we went through White Sands, and then after there, we found a nice little state park to pull into, just outside of Roswell, where we got to camp for the night and to look for UFOs, which there was a moment, 3 seconds, maybe 3 seconds
I saw it.
For both of us, we had UFO mania.
What's that?
Until it was a complete identified object as just a low-flying plane. Which I gotta imagine at some point he's like, you know what, someone's camping, let's just screw with them and coming down there. But so 3 seconds, I had the UFO, didn't really happen, but I feel like I had my Roswell experience, and it's very that happened. It was a nice place to camp. All right, so we did the Roswell, drove through there, and at that point, what did we do after Roswell?
Carlsbad.
Thank you very much. We went on a whirlwind tour going around Carlsbad National Monument, or National Park, excuse me. And from there, we went into, because they're pretty much right next to each other, right? And we went into
Right over the
Guadalupe.
border. Yeah.
Like pretty much right from New Mexico, and if you go right down, right below that into Texas, West Texas.
Number 40.
Number 40. This was our 40th state. At that point, I think we were about 36,000 miles driven. Now in 2 years and 40 states hitting. We've hitting.
Hitting them in the face.
So we came down into Guadalupe National Park. But before we did that, while we're still in New Mexico, because if we go to different places, all these different places we've been, if there's a certain food, a flavor that is known for that area, we want to try that. Because like if you're here, like we went to like Maine and we had like lobster roll and stuff like that. So in New Mexico, we figured the thing to eat would be green chilies, or chilies of some fashion or another. That's what the state's kind of known for. So we stopped at Dana Burrito.
Diana.
Diana Burrito.
Burrito Diana.
Burrito Diana. Get the name clear. We stopped there and we got ourselves some green chili burritos. And we're like, all right, well, now I feel like I have tasted New Mexico. Let's go into Texas, where I was hoping for barbecue. But we got down in the Guadalupe National Park. Beautiful mountains. There was the camping, all the main camping spots were full, and essentially they said if you weren't camping in a tent, you can't camp in those spots. That anything like car camping like we do, doing this kind of stuff, that had to be considered RV parking, which means you had to park in an RV spot in a parking lot. So that's what we had for that night. So we went in the Guadalupe National Park. We had a beautiful view of the mountain and the hiking range, and every single hiker that walked by us looking at us confused by our weird car top bench grill setup.
Why are these people in the parking lot?
I know I'm not homeless, but there's moments when I slightly go, I wonder what spectacle people, what people think. So we set up out there in the parking lot, and of course we had RVs like around us, and they're enjoying the view and occasionally looking at us, or we're looking at them because we're pretending we're not looking at each other, but there's nothing else on TV, so we're all watching each other. So in that same parking lot, we got to experience throwing up Burrito Diana. Green chilies burritos. Why the people in the RV basically watch, because we're like, fuck it, I don't know what's going on, but I feel really sick all of a sudden and I need to get something out of my body. Have you ever seen Aliens? So that happened.
Thanks for watching.
This whole point, though, I should point out, from here all through all this, we've had air conditioning. That morning we packed up Chewy to get heading back on the road to go experience the rest of West Texas and making our way down here to Big Bend for the southern end of the Rio Grande. Turn the car on, click on the AC, sputtering, barely. Lifted the hood, checked it, the compressor's barely rolling, it's not going. Basically I know what's going on. We lost Freon at that point. Whatever the patch we had on our AC that was allowing us our AC to work, I don't know if it happened in white sands on the washboard roads. At some point we lost it. So the rest of the way down here was going without air conditioning. And it's in the 100-degree range at this point. So we drive down all the way from here, down here to this big bend that you see in Texas. That's where the national park is, down there. We spent a night at that spot. And that spot there was interesting because we spent the night basically fighting off gnats that came in the evening, kept wanting to not really bite us, but they would just not leave us the frickin' alone. So we set up our new tent, Oscar, which we'll talk about one of our upcoming videos as we got coming up there. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. And that night we fought off the gnats and fought off scorpions that we found, and bears. We didn't see any bears, but we were told by the local rangers that a bear was spotted in our campsite like the night before. So that was a fun bear alert. So, anything else about Big Bend?
No, I just think that we should leave this as a cliffhanger to see what happens next, though, because you're at 20 minutes.
Okay, well, tell you what, we're going to pause right here.
Not pause.
We'll leave it a cliffhanger. Big Bend. We have no air conditioning. What are we going to do
What's
next?
going to happen next,
What's going to
people?
happen?
Where are we going to go?
This video is way too freaking long. We're sorry about that. We'll try to be more concise in the next one. Please go to houseofhaha.com and go to Have a Reasonable Day to check out our book. Come back for part 2 and see what happens.
It's important.